My name is Hadekemi Homololu, and I am the creator of the Ibadan Hub. The Davos Lab Dialogue, Building Her Future, is an initiative of the Global Shapers community, and it was born out of the desire to shape a youth-driven recovery plan to address the world's converging crises. Davos Lab Dialogue, being youth-driven, will be launched on the International Youth Day on August 12, 2021. The initiative is hinged on 10 pillars, which are inclusive jobs, next generation impact, digital access, digital literacy, net zero, conscious consumerism, future of politics, public safety, public health, and mental health. These pillars are expected to reset economic, social, political, and environmental systems. This event is themed on Pillar 7, which is the future of politics. The decision we'll make today will define our future and that of the generations after us. In order to achieve this recovery plan, diversity, equity, and inclusiveness must be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction, Adekemi. So we'll give the floor to our moderator, Oyinkan, who will take us through the questions and engage with the guests and do justice to the topic, the future of politics.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Just quickly, before we dive in, I'd love it if our panelists could give us, a brief 5 minutes introduction about themselves and what they do. Taiwo, would love to hear from you. Hi, Taiwo. We can't hear you. Taiwo, your microphone is muted. Could you please unmute it? I can see that you're, trying to speak to us, but it's muted. Taiwo, we'll just give you, a brief minute to resolve the technical issues. Brian, would love to hear from you, please.
Good evening, everyone. I'm honored to be a panelist in this discussion. Pleased to meet everyone. My name is Brian Dennis. I'm a writer, a political communications consultant. I'm a legislative aide to Senator Henry Siaraki Dixon. I'm a public speaker and social political activist too. Thank you very much.
Good evening once again.
Good evening. We can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everybody in the house. Once again, my name is Femi Okunlola. I don't know, maybe we can hear me very well now.
Yes, we can, absolutely.
Okay. I'm Femi Okunlola, like I said. I live in Ibadan. I'm a politician. I'm a farmer. I'm a graduate of mass communication. I've served at local government level as chief of staff to the chairman of local government. I've served as PA. To the glory of God, I've served as the chairman of Local Action Committee Against AIDS, LACA. Presently, I'm a federal board member with Nigeria Export Processing Zone Authority. During the second term of Ajimabi, I was special assistant, political matters. Thank you. It's a big honor having me with you this evening.
Thank you very much. Apologies for addressing you wrongly initially. So quickly we'll be diving into what we have today. Brian, I'd be starting, with a very important question for you. With the recent events that have been going on in our world today, and particularly in Nigeria, policymakers, the public sector really is facing their biggest test in generations. Based on your role as a legislative aide, could you please share with us how we can encourage new candidates to run for office or become policymakers in other spheres?
Okay, thank you very much. I will begin with how they can run for office. Well, by the grace of God, Senator Bukola Saraki's 8th National Assembly, one of the milestones of that 8th National Assembly was the Not Too Young to Run bill, which was successfully signed into law by President Buhari. It opened the door. Before then, the law was restricting lots of young people for that they cannot contest for offices or run for offices until they get to a certain age. And but now, at least from 25 years and above, you can run for State House of Assembly, and from 35 years and above, you can run for governor, president. So it has opened that door of opportunities for young people. But there's still a lot of work to be done, because power is not something that is given. Power is taken. If young people want to participate in politics, it has to start from a dedication to grassroots. I see a lot of people that say, hey, they want to run to office, and they will be in Lagos, they will be in Abuja, and meanwhile they are based in they are from Rivers State, for example. They are from Okrika, they are from Degema, and they have no relationship with their grassroots. Politics is local, so we have to go back home and develop a relationship with people at home. We have to go. It has to start from the grassroots. It has to start from the grassroots. Nobody is going to give us anything on the platter. Anybody that's saying, yes, we love seeing, whenever we see posters of young people, we get excited. Yes, but we ask, are they really doing the work? The people that are in government today, the men that we are crying that they are too old, if you check when they started when they were very young. And if we have to start now, because we'll keep waiting for them to become too old and retire, and they will not. So there are some. I think there was a senator that did 20 years in the National Assembly before he eventually stopped. 20 years of restricting other people from getting to that office. 20 years. So it's not something that it's given. It has to be taken. We have to show willingness that we are actually ready to run for these offices and develop effective leadership policies for our people. Then for policy makers, for policy shapers and makers, well, I don't think there's any, before now, I did not think there was any age restriction. It's just that we as young people, we have to get more involved in politics, whether as a politician or as a critic. We have to just be in that ecosystem, whichever way. That's the only way. When I say a lot of people say they want to be governors and presidents, that's not the best way to start a political career. We have to start from the smallest. A councillor, you have to effect change, beginning from your local constituency. Then from there you can build. You start from a councillor, go to House of Assembly, go to House of Reps, go to Senate, build. Politics is local, so we should focus. Lots of young people should ready their time. Yeah, a lot of people say yes, it's money, and we've heard of tales of people that, because of how they have sold themselves to the grassroots, even without money, they ran for elections and won. Of course, there will always be money. The money factor will come in, but if young people want to really, really take over from this generation, We have to go back home. Social media will not win elections for us. People that vote, the villagers, the people in our communities, our grandmothers, the people on the road in our communities, they are the ones that have the power to put us in Abuja, National Assembly. They are the ones that have that power. Social media can crowd fund and give you all the moral support you need, but nobody's going to, nobody, if you're from Lagos and I'm from Rivers State and you're running for House of Rep, there's no how I cannot vote for you. Yes, I can contribute. So it's a grassroots situation. Everybody should go back home and work on their grassroots. I'm sorry for taking much time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You had mentioned the not too young to run bill. If you don't mind, please hold that up. We'll be coming back to it in a second. Femi, you mentioned that you are a politician, so I'd love to hear from you, and I'm sure everyone else would also like to. What do you believe the future of politics and the 21st century politician and policymaker, what do you believe they should look like?
Thank you. When you look at the question that you ask, that what does the future of politics, especially in our political climate here, you know, my brother who just made a submission, the future of politics in our climate here, for now, there's a saying that power is not served a la carte. Power is not what you just sit down and you are dozer. So answering your question that what does the future of politics look like? It's just to answer it by letting you realize the fact that it is what everybody must be actively informed. So when I say power is not served a la carte, like my brother said, you see, the fact is that the political space, for now, you have so many people who have been in power, who have been in the shadow of leadership for decades, and they are still there. And the care is not taken. The youths, we should not see it as a sense of entitlement that the future belongs to us, because it has been an age-long cliche that people continually say that youths, they are the future. When is that tomorrow? When is it coming? And that's why I said with a cliche that power is not served a la carte. But by the time you look at the future of politics in Nigeria, you discover that it cannot be discussed in isolation, because there is a saying, apology to Sage Awolowo of blessed memory. He said Nigeria is just a mere geographical expression. Because when you look at it, you say the north, the south, even breaking it down to 6 geopolitical zones, you discover that when you look at what happens in the north central, sometimes they say north central is not part of the north when it is convenient for them. But sometimes when they know that they need the north central, the northeast, the northwest, they will claim that north central is part of them. But the truth of the matter is that there is no one north. But because of the fact that when they need them, they say they are part of them, the north central. So answering your question now, that what is the future of politics in Nigeria? The first thing that we must interrogate is that Nigeria is just a mere geographical expression. It's really difficult to say that there is one Nigeria, because when we are talking about one Nigeria, then you start thinking about how do we attain nationhood. And when you are thinking of attain nationhood, then you look at what is future of Nigeria itself, because you cannot discuss the future of politics without knowing the future of Nigeria itself. And when you are talking about the future of Nigeria, you look at our coexistence. because they believe that what is written in our constitution, that we, the people of Nigeria, who are the people of Nigeria, who have agreed to come together. It was a constitution that was drafted, that was written on our behalf. But they said that we, the people of Nigeria, in the real sense, do we sit down? Is it a democratic institutions, the people that came together to write this? It was the military that handed over this constitution to us. So what I'm trying to say is that when you are discussing or interrogating about the future of politics, the first thing that we need to discuss is that what is the future of Nigeria? Are we as a people, do we ready to work together as one nation? Because when you want to attain nationhood, there are some ingredients that you need to look at, because there is structural deficits in this country. And when you are looking at the structural deficit, you talk about the corporate existence of the country. Some people, they say they are the Hausas. Some people, they will say we are the Ijos. Some will say we are Yorubas. So by the time they get to the political position, especially at the central, instead of looking for the how to attain the nationhood, which are some ingredients, there are some narratives that we need to discuss. But instead, now to answer your question, the future of politics in this country, if I will not deceive ourselves, apart being a politician, as a patriotic Nigeria, the future is bleak unless we sit down to discuss our corporate existence, so that we not see it as a mere geographical expression, that when I need you, maybe for the fact that I need your votes, and once, okay, if somebody is coming from the south or somebody is coming from the north central, he needs your vote, we say we are one brothers. But immediately he gets to the power, his loyalty, his interest is not about the building or attain nationhood. It's about his political class. It's about his tribe. So the future is bleak until we address the issue of the nationhood. So I think, let me submit for now.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed your perspective, and yes, once again, I'll be asking you to please hold that thought. Brian, you had talked about the Not Too Young to Run bill. So I thought to ask you, do you believe that the later events of the NSAS movement have, undone the success that the Not Too Young to Run bill, made in terms of youth engagement in politics?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily call it a success yet. I feel like the good thing about NSAS was that it wasn't a political movement. So a lot of groups tried to hijack it and to try to turn it to a political movement, but it wasn't. They were not successful. It was strictly it was an activism movement that stood on its own. Yes, it awoke a lot of political consciousness, but I'm going to have to say this, that Nigerians are people that are easily triggered. Yeah, I was saying that. Okay, can I go on?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, I was saying that I wouldn't necessarily, after the whole NSAS thing, you could see that Nigerian youths, to be specific, are people that are easily outraged, they are easily triggered. And because of how quick we can move from 0 to 100, that pace too is how quick we can move from 100 back to 0. Yes, for the first time in a long time, we were able to sustain the protest for three to 4 weeks, almost a month, until what happened. Then it was supposed to be an awakening of consciousness. Yes, we have, at least then we realized that we had some power. And I think those in government also realized that these people are stubborn, they have power. Parents were happy, like, yes, they are doing what we could not do over the years. And we did it. Roads were blocked. We demanded for the end of the Special Anti-Robbery Squad because of their activities, their illegal activities, their abuse of human rights. And yes, government said, yes, okay, we have ended it. And they were still not, we're still not satisfied. They said, no, no, no. We want justice for those that have been killed, those that have been hurt over the years. Government set up panels. And at a point, we said, no, no, no. We don't want to go back home and call off our protests and then things to go back to normal. And yeah, what happened, happened. But about 2 weeks later, there was to be a by-election in, I think, in Lagos, in Bayelsa, I think in Imo State, senatorial by-election, House of Reps, some of them, yeah. Yeah. And we expected that, people were expecting that now that the tensions are still high, now that youths have realized, we expected youth participation in those elections. We expected, if they said they were angry, they were angry towards a particular set of people or party members for the actions that happened during the NSAS. They were expecting them to take that anger out and go and exercise it in the polling units. None of that happened. None of that happened. Voter turnout was low everywhere. And it then, so when you say, they did not too young to run and they enter, did it awaken? I think it did, but over time it is slowly deteriorating. But the good thing is that we're in Nigeria, where every day something will make you upset. Outrage will continue. It's always there's been outrage for the past 2, 3, 4 days because of the Minister of Communications, and a lot of people are seeing for themselves what Nigeria means. I don't want to say some things, but now a lot of people are angry. So the Nigerian youth should learn how to hold this outrage and okay, yes, when this time is, when it gets to elections, we will participate. And it's not just about participating or going to vote. I recently started seeing posters of one of my friends, he's running for Delta State House of Assembly. I was very, very impressed. Yeah, this is what we want. But participation beyond just exercising franchise is what we also want. We want more people to be involved. If NSAS is one of the things that triggered it, well, I wouldn't be surprised, but it is not enough. It is not enough. That's what I'm going to say, that the NSAS, it did so much, but as time goes on, it has deteriorated. So that's why we need to have constant conversations about reminding young people about their power and get them to participate in elections, not just to go and vote, to also run for elections. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. Thank you so much for that. Femi, now we're circling back to the conversation that we were having earlier. So I wanted to know your views. You haven't talked about what you feel about the future of politics in Nigeria. I wanted to know your own take on how we can actually drive development and growth and create a future in politics that is desirable. Could you please unmute yourself? Right.
Yes, I've done that. You see, like I said the other time when I was addressing the issue of the future of politics in Nigeria, I said something, and the reason why I said this is that I am a student of peace and conflicts in my master's. That's one thing that we discussed one day, that when you are talking about issue of conflict, look at a tree, for instance. You look at stems of a tree, you can see it visibly. You look at the tree, the leaves, but it is not feasible for you to see the roots of a leaf, meaning that for every conflict, there is always a root cause. And when you are looking at the future of the politics of Nigeria, there's no way you interrogate it without looking at the corporate coexistence, which I've just discussed. Now, when you want to look at the future of politics, my brother said something about the issue of the NSAS, that the way the people, they engage the government, the way the people were mobilized, the way the youths were so active on the social media, and even during these NSAS protests, you could discover that, you could conclude that the next election or subsequent election, that people will come out, they will vote, and their vote will be counted, and it will count, and they will speak in one voice. But because you discover that youths, they are more active on the social media, youth are more active on the Facebook, on the Twitter, and what have you. So it's so difficult for the youths to speak with one voice. Now, when you want to look at it, that how do we determine the future of the youths in politics? How do we get involved? One, these are some of the things that youth that we must realize. I said it, power is not served a la carte. Youth must be actively involved. Youth must be mobilized. Youth cannot just sit down at home thinking there is sense of entitlement. I, for instance, I started student unionism when I was in the Polytechnic. I get engaged in the student unionism, in local union, and I started attending political meetings at the level of the world. Because you see, politics is local, and you have to start by identify mixing with the critical stakeholders. So the way we can shape the future of the politics is that you cannot just tell the elders, the leaders, the people who are there, that they just step aside. But consciously, we need to plan ahead. Youth need to get involved. Myself need to get involved. You need to get involved. Other youth must be mobilized. By the time we believe in the cliche that little ocean, a little drop of water form torrents of ocean, then we can mobilize ourselves. Because when you look at it critically, many youths on the day of the election, some look for how to get 500 naira, how to get 2,000 naira, and they are forgetting that what they are doing, they are not helping themselves, but instead what they are doing, it is for them to, one, believe that there is a process of leadership recruitment. Because in Nigeria, leadership recruitment is 40. The way we recruit our leaders is just that because you know somebody, maybe you know Godfather, there is no need for you to know Godfather. What youth must realize is that you need mentors. There must be a relationship between a mentor and mentee. To the glory of God, I've served in the capacity in the local government, I've served in the states. Presently, I'm a federal board member. It's not just what happened just a night. So it's not about kowtow at the feet of the Godfathers, but it's about having a relationship with them when they know your capacity, when they know you are intelligent, and when you have something to offer them. There are so many, even Godfather in quotes, who are looking for God's son to adopt. So one, we need to interrogate about our leadership recruitment model, which is 40. That's number one. Then number two, we need to mitigate current logjam. And how do we do that? There are some who have the capacity. They are there because of prowess to get involved. They are not around. And it's those people who are around, who are available, that will be called upon. Then number three, we need to de-emphasize the politics of social activism, which my brother said the other time about the issue of NSAS. Many youths, they don't get involved. They only go to the social media, they start ranting. When you get to the world meeting, in PDP, in APC, in Labour Party, where many of the political ESCO, party ESCOs, where they form, which are these people who has the power of choosing the candidate, the people that will produce, the system that will produce the candidate, they are the people who are not informed, they are political anger song. But if people, the youths, they realize that the politics does not end just at social media, but they need to get involved in the world meetings. When they get involved in the world meeting, when they ask, because when you ask many words and many youths, like something happened, I attended a meeting, And they were asking people, what is the name of your ward chairman? They cannot say it. They don't even know their polling units. Tell me, when you have like 50 people, it is difficult for 5-10 people to identify their polling unit, their ward. Even they ask somebody, do you know the ward chairman? He said he's a member of a PDP. What's the name of the ward chairman? He cannot say the name. And lastly, because of our time, let me say this. We must cultivate the habits of patriotism. Because if we are patriotic, you not just say, it's none of my business. Let people that are there, let them just be there. Because those people who refuse to rule, those people who refuse to offer themselves for the service to their nation, to their country, to their local government, they will suffer the rule of the idiots. And they don't have any reason to complain. So the future of politics in Nigeria, it lies on our hand. But the fact is that power is not served a la carte. We must rise to the occasion. We must be active, not on social media, in the political space, because it's not a sense of entitlement that they will consider us. This is not just about affirmation. This is about taking our space. Thank you, the moderator.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for that. Brian, I was wondering, what are your thoughts on, low voter turnouts at the polls, and how do you believe we can turn that situation around?
Well, over the years, we've had, whenever it comes to an election cycle, we have NGOs, we have several organizations doing voter education. Even INEC does it. Come out and vote, come out and vote, come out and vote. I think I think over time, Nigerians have carried this mentality that their votes do not count, and that's one. Number two is that even when they vote a person in government, oh yes, they are assuming that their votes even did count. The people that are elected into office do not deliver on their election mandates. And when it has become something that happens every 4 years, every election cycle, the people themselves tend to like, what's the need? That's why this government, that's how this other government came and promised this, they didn't do it. This one has come to tell us his own story. There's no need to go out and stress myself on election day. So that's one thing that continuously affects voter turnout. And generally, as the years go by in Nigeria, we've noticed a strong voter apathy. People do not come out to vote anymore. And the funny part is when people claim that their votes do not count, is actually very wrong, because an election can only be rigged or the election numbers manipulated when people do not turn out to vote. They will just, I think what most of these politicians do is that they will just go and they will identify the number of registered voters in that polling units, okay? And then they will check the turnout and manipulate election result slips to reflect on the number of registered voters, not even on turnout. So they are even praying that people don't turn out to vote. That's why election day, there's widespread violence, they shoot guns and all of that. So people stay in their houses. I don't want to die, let me stay in my house. Because they just want to say, okay, we have 10,000 registered voters in this polling unit. Okay, I'm going to allocate 9,300 votes to myself and then share the remaining 700 to the remaining other parties to create a sort of legitimacy that, yes, election did happen. And then at the end of the day, you hear people saying that, there was no election in my area, or there's no election, but results came out. But if people do come out to vote, that loophole will be closed. If there are 10,000 registered voters and 8,000 people turn out to vote, even if they want to rig, I don't think that extra 2,000 is going to do much for them. So people need to understand that they do themselves more injustice when they do not come out to vote. And that's the truth. They do not say more injustice when they do not come out to vote. Secondly, our voter education has to improve. And I think a lot of people we cannot get from, we follow this same pattern. I don't think there's no way you can convince someone that their vote will count. Following this our current electoral system, something has to change. We cannot keep using the same things we used in 1999 until today. And recently, INEC did a presser that they are not adding new polling units. The truth is that cities have opened, places have developed. The polling units that used to have just 1,000 voters now has over 10,000 registered voters. On election day, 10,000 people will queue in one particular position. These are things that people feel like, I don't want stress. I want to stay in my house. And they just say, I cannot go and queue under this hot sun. You need to make the voting process easy. I think in India, there was a particular village where one man was staying up very, very high, close to a mountain. Because they wanted him to be a part of the process, he is the only voter in his polling unit. I would look for that particular the full details. He is the only voter in his polling unit because the election has to get to everyone. I cannot be pushed to go and do a thumbprint, and I go out that day on a Saturday and I see 10,000 people on the queue. We need more polling units. We need to overhaul our electoral system. And when I see people crying for electoral reforms, I understand that that's the first thing we need to do. That's the first thing we need to do. Once we fix that, people will be encouraged. Once we know that, yes, we have closed the loopholes of rigging, a lot of people will be encouraged to come and vote. So it's discouraging, really. It's really discouraging that in 2021, we are still having such discussions, things that are more modern day discussions, things that we're not supposed to be having these discussions anymore. We're supposed to be talking about stronger things to improve our electoral system, not access to vote. Not we do voter education every year, every cycle, and the same 4 years later we'll be doing the same thing. It doesn't. To me, it's like we're just running around in circles. So we just have to fix our electoral system first. Then people will willfully come out to vote. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. I'd also love to get your thoughts on how we can really turn around the electoral process. That's, the events that lead up to like elections, including like voters registration and things like that. But please hold that thought. Femi, so I have a excellent question here. You had talked about social media and how it seems that a lot of young people are more preoccupied with using social media than participating in person. So I wanted to know, what are your thoughts on the role that social media can actually play in encouraging young people to participate? Like, how can we use social media positively? How can we adopt technology? How can technology play a role, basically? I want to hear your thoughts on that, please.
Thank you. You see, let me start by saying this. When you are talking about issue of communication, especially the issue of the media, you see, dispersing information to an heterogeneous audience that scatter through different geographical locations. This is the essence of what people use social media for this day. And I know the power of the social media, it cannot be overemphasized. But the fact is that social media alone cannot win an election. It can only have a bandwagon effect on the youths, on the educated, on the people who are well informed to make an informed decision. But we should ask ourselves, what is the demographic ratio of the people, the target audience who are on the social media? When we ask ourselves this, we should ask, what is their number of the demographic ratio of the youths or the active participants on the social media who has their voters card, who are duly registered, and who are ready to queue on the day of the election. You see, like my brother said, in my own polling unit where I used to vote, the number of the people astronomically has grown to the point that there's a need to balkanize the polling units in such a way that for administrative convenience for the INEC. But up to now, this has not been done. So going forward, the power of the social media, like I said, we cannot underrate it. The social media can be used, like look at what happened during the Arab Spring, how social media was used, how it was leveraged to mobilize the citizen to a cause of action, how the social media was used to influence the cause of action of the citizen, for them to be sensitized, for them to be conscientized. But beyond that, the aggregate of mobilization of the social media will not be counted on the day of the election. But we can leverage on the social media, one, by harnessing it to mobilize the youths, to get involved in the grassroots politics, because every politics is local. Because if you cannot win an election on your local, on your units, in your ward, in your local government, and maybe there's an opinion poll on the social media, and on the social media, the opinion poll is that you have maybe 5,000 followers, and I have just 1,000 followers. Maybe at the end of the day, when they ask them to vote for us, you can win the election. But the issue is that we must, mind you, you are talking about issue of the social media. Social media is very, very important. But the issue of the money bag, like Sekome, who is a respected lawyer, he said something which I want to quickly say. He said, prior to the 1999, the advent of the democracy, when people are getting involved in politics, most of the technocrats, the civil society players, they refuse to be involved because they thought politics is dirty. Even most of them who are youth, who have figure, but they don't have the financial wherewithal. Then the people with some money, who will be tagged as money bag, they get involved. And you know, when you have political power, you have economic power, you amass more and more and more. And that's why they have taken over the political space. But we can harness the social media today by mobilizing the segment of the demographic ratio of the youth. But I want to emphasize, we can mobilize them and that's what happened in Lagos and other, during the NSAS protest. You can leverage on social media now for advocacy to mobilize youth, not only on the social media, to get registered. So there must be now hashtag that youth must get registered to have their passport. And what is their passport? Voters card. When they have their voters card, that is their power. And they need for them to have the reorientation that there must be a tenacity of purpose, that nobody will come to you and give you power inside your comfort of your home. That you must ready to queue, you must ready to even interrogate those people who are contesting, and you must be an active player, like I said, using social media. So by the time you use social media to mobilize people, many people, they will get involved, so that we de-emphasizing politics on the social media alone, but politics on the social media and practical politics, they must go pari passu. By the time you are actively involved, you are popular on the social media, you must be popular in your ward, and you must be popular even in your local government. So there is a need to use social media as an advocacy tool to mobilize people, not just for social activism. We must de-emphasize that, but we must use it to mobilize the youth in the nooks and crannies of the entire country, so that, like my brother said, you see, many people, like people who have 10,000 polling units, we can use the power of the social media, because if somebody gets there, is a youth, he says, they're just wasting my time, why should I just stay here? But by the time you use social media as a tool of advocacy, that this is our future, that the power that be, the people who are there, they will never want to leave, but we have the power of the social media, leveraging on it to sensitize, not just to tell them about getting involved, but be involved in real practical politics. And we can still use it as voter education. Voter education should not be for INEC alone. We as an active participant, as a youth, as a social, as a social engineer, we must use it to influence the youth, either consciously or unconsciously, to set agenda in an agenda setting in social media. So that at the end of the day, we leverage on the technology, we leverage on social media, we leverage on Twitter, we leverage on WhatsApp, we leverage on different social platforms to mobilize people, not just to conscientize them about politics, but their practical involvement. Like a saying, Dangote olori meji. So the fact that I'm a member of federal board, I'm still in my 40s. There was a day I was meeting one of the management staff, and I said, I'm Honorable Femi Okunlola. He said, no, you cannot be a board member. He said, what do you mean? He said, we have old people because of the politics of gerontocracy. So they believe people in the 60s, in the 70s. This is the office that is meant for them. And don't forget that consciously, I have been involved from grassroots. I was one time a national president of Federation of State Student Union, National Council. Even on the platform, I have my national PRO is with me here. So power is not served a la carte because I was involved. So I've served at different strata. So it is very, very important for us to leverage on the social media, not just to cry, not just to shout, not just for them to just know us, but to use the power for advocacy, for voter education, so that we can gradually take up the political space. Let me submit for now.
Thank you so much for that. I particularly enjoyed, your suggestion of social media as a tool for advocacy. Thank you so much. Brian, there's a question in the chat box that appears to be directed to you. The question says, youth often blame a flawed electoral system with irregularities as a reason for low participation, as they feel their votes may not count. How can we overcome the flaws in our system to encourage political participation? It's closely related to, the question we had asked earlier.
Okay, well, like I said, electoral reforms. I think the other time they were talking about electronic voting. It's little steps that, and I think now we also have a situation where results come in live in real time now, so we don't have to wait for 24 hours or 3 days to have results. Results are now declared real time. I think they've done that once or twice. So these little things encourage voter turnout. People, when there is credibility in the process, I don't think there's anyone that will see something that is credible and refuse to participate in it. 100 votes is bigger than 90 votes. But we have seen situations where when even the voters are not up to 100, we see somebody winning with 100 votes. These are the little issues that turn off people from participating in the process. Be like, there's no, like I said, over the years, people become exasperated with the whole thing. Like, I beg, there's no need for me to go and continue. I vote anytime I vote. If I vote for this person, he will lose. If I vote for this person, he will lose. They will rig the election. They will come and snatch ballot boxes and all of that. As long as we have elections where ballot boxes can be snatched, where people can go somewhere and thumbprint, there's nothing we can do to encourage people to encourage political participation until the process is credible. And that's why I like I said, I support calls for electoral reforms until we have credible elections. And it's not just one credible election or two credible elections, until we have a series of credible elections for each type of election for years. That's when you see people coming out to vote. Back then, university, when we say, hey, we are having elections for cause rep and all of that, people participated because a simple show of hands. You cannot, most of them just do a simple show of hands. You cannot manipulate that one. How many people? Yes, 20. If it was not credible, people will not participate. If it is, as long as it is not credible, participation will be limited to only people that have vested interests. Okay, every year there's one. Anambra elections will be held in November this year, and political campaigns have started in little groups while waiting for primaries. And the Southeast is a region that is known for their voter apathy. If the election in Anambra is not credible, if there's no will from, if there's a political will from the federal government to upturn the wish of the people, in the next 4 years, Anambra people will not come out to vote. They already don't. If we can give them credible elections, especially real time, okay, yes, this person, 1 vote, 2 votes, that's what we want. We want to see a transparent process. I know INEC is working towards that. I don't want to speak for them, but whichever way, they should let the process happen faster. If the electoral process is transparent, free and fair, credible, if it's done like that in Anambra, and I think Osun is coming up later, where will elections be held that people will not come out to vote? A free and fair election that is devoid. As long as violence can play a role in elections, elections will not count. And that's the simple truth. As long as violence can play a role, if our electoral system puts political thugs in business, because what they have to do is to go and snatch boxes, this thing goes somewhere and thumbprint, and that's it. And then come back later, return it to the INEC officers, of which most of them they parlay with. So okay, see, and they give that, yes, okay, record this result, and that's it. That's what most of them do. As long as we have a system that has that sort of election, it will not be credible. It's that simple. But if we have a system where if we switch to some electronic voting where it cannot be taken away, where you cannot rig, until we block loopholes, our elections will not be credible. And until if our elections are not credible, voter turnout, voter participation will remain poor. I was in Rivers State during the last gubernatorial election. I said, okay, I'm going to vote this time. I just heard a few gunshots, and my mother held me, say, hey, you're not going anywhere. And that's the problem. I wanted to go and vote, but I was hearing gunshots, and my mother said, no, this boy, you want me to die before my time? You're not going anywhere. And that was how I didn't vote. So these are the issues. If we had a system where no matter what guns, the more they shoot guns, the more there's no election there. Nobody will advise anybody to go and shoot any gun. No, political thugs will be out of business. Because thuggery is basically bullying. If you cannot bully people, the only thing they can do at that point now is to point people gun and say, you must vote for my candidate too. And nobody can do that. It's not sustainable. So until we have elections that totally eliminate thuggery from it, that totally eliminates ballot box snatching and the stealing of sensitive materials, like I said, we'll just be going around in circles. So the only way we can improve electoral participation is to have these reforms. If we have these reforms, we will not even be shouting about voter education. We'll just tell people, okay, see, this is a new way to vote. You go with your voter's card, and the electronic system will present it to you. You thumbprint, it records that you have voted, and you go home. That's it. If we have that kind of system, and as the person votes, in some server, in some place where the results are authenticated, it's showing that, okay, 1 vote has entered for this person. It's live, it's real time. We have that kind of system. You cannot rig elections. And once elections cannot be rigged, participation will improve. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Brian. Femi, there's a question in the chat box for you. I would read it out. The question says, it's no news that politics is dirty as far as Nigeria is concerned. While young people hope to change the narrative, how equipped are we, especially as going dirty to drive out dirty shouldn't be an option? The question also says, how do we handle sponsored violence like sponsored violence during elections? Is sensitization enough?
Can you come again for the second question?
The question says, how do we handle sponsored violence during elections? Is sensitization enough?
Okay. I'm coming. Okay. Now, you see, the first one is talking about the age-long saying that says politics is dirty. That politics is a dirty game. I beg to disagree. Politics is not dirty. Politics is a game. And it depends on the people who are playing the politics. One, let me say this, that it is not only politics. There are people who play the game that could be dirty. So it depends on the players. Because this is saying that has been age long, that people believe that politics is dirty. And, you know, my brother said something the other time when he was talking, when he was addressing about the issue of the voter apathy. On the day of the election, he was hearing gunshot, boom. And his mom said, no, Dennis, you can't go out. This part of the pointer that says politics is dirty, because people believe that politics is characterized with violence, with corruption, with money bag, with extraterrestrial power, and any other things that you can call it. But the reason why I said I disagree is that politics, even in the larger society and in the developed world, they have modicum of decency, which I believe politics in this climb is about the players, the people who are involved. I said something that Osekome, he said, prior to 1999, when many people, they were on exile during the Abata junta, many people, they were on exile, but immediately after the death of Abacha, they came back. But when they got back to Nigeria, the elites, especially the journalists, the lawyer, the intellectuals, the intellectual communities, they believe that politics is dirty, and they stay aloof. They step aside, that they will not get involved in politics. And before they know what is happening, the money bag, the bourgeoisie, the people who have the resources to mobilize, even the resources then was little, because for you to win a global election in 1999, what you need is not what you need now. Because for you to get a form in some political parties, you may have to pay 50 million naira. But then, when you look backward, it's not up to that. Now is a financial war chest. Those people who engage in political engagement. Now, the reason why people believe that politics is dirty is that there are sort of things that people do, that people who are decent, that they cannot do. But the fact is this, majority will always win the votes, and the minority will carry the same. But if we mobilize people who are upright, if we mobilize youth who have the fear of God, if you mobilize youth who believe in decency, and if you believe that there's a need for us to evolve the political model that will change the narrative, because our political model needs to be changed before we say, okay, politics is dirty, politics is not dirty. So to me, the first issue I want to emphasize is that politics is not dirty. It is the political players. And what we need to address, one, which must involve the government, is that we must change our political model. And how do we change our political model? The issue of political party, we need a legislation that will curtail people who are saying, okay, before you can contest an election, you have to pick a nomination form of 50 million naira. You have to pick an expression of interest of 25 million naira. And by the time you sum up all this money, before you can signify intention, maybe you need 100 million naira. So by the time you get there, what do you look for? You look for how to recoup your money. And why will people not say politics is not dirty? They will say it's dirty. That's one. Then number two, the issue of the electoral violence. So because the first and second question, they are just interwoven. Because when you look at the policymakers, the political functionaries, the people in government, the legislatures, until when we have the policies, until we enact laws that will serve as deterrents, that will give people an assurance that if I go out to vote on the day of the election, like the second question, which you are asking about the sponge violence during election, that what do we need? Is it sensitization alone that is needed? Not only sensitization, there is a need to enact law that will serve as deterrent. Because if you know that, okay, once you are caught, the arm of law will treat you as a criminal and you are going to jail. And when you know that you'll be jailed, when you know there's consequences for your action, you not just say, okay, I have a godfather that will bail me out. Once they get me arrested, that I can be rest assured that somebody will bail me out. And another thing is that there's a need for electoral offense commission. Because if there is an agency of the government that is not just an agency of government in paper, who is active, who is alive to our responsibility, irrespective of whom you are, that because I know Obasanjo, because I know Saraki, because I know Buhari, or because I know anybody, or because I can involve in ballot stuffing, ballot starching, I can just take AK-47 and just cause violence. Once I know the implication, do you know people will do what? They will be restricted. They will not cause violence. So sensitization is good, but sensitization alone will not curb this. And that's the reason why we need to mobilize our people, not too young to run. If you have many people in the House of Representatives, if you have many people in the Senate, we'll be able to enact law that will curb all these violences. And if we do that, at the end of the day, this politics that we are saying is dirty. We will have de-emphasized the issue of money back politics. Thank God in the legislation about not too young to run. This is a great achievement. And the youths, they were at the center stage of it. And today, many youths, maybe they wouldn't have the opportunity even to participate or to contest. So summarily and succinctly, I want to conclude by saying, one, in order for the youths to get involved, we must realize that it's very, very important. Politics is dirty principally because of leadership recruitment model. And the way we can address the leadership recruitment model is that we, the youths who are intelligent, who are God-fearing, who believe that we have something to offer, that we must get involved. We must ready to be mentored by people who are there. And by the time we do that, we take over this political space gradually. And if politics is dirty, which I don't believe, we'll be able to clean it up. And the game changers, the game players, they are the people that will change the narratives. And the way we can change the narratives, there is no shortcut. We must be involved. By the time we are involved, at the level of the maybe red chamber, the green chamber, state assembly, we'll be able to enact the law that will curb the electoral violences. And by the time we curb all these factors that mitigate, that are inhibiting the progress that we're supposed to have achieved in our electioneering fair democracy. So through that, we'll be able to do what? To clean up the space. And many people, they will be encouraged. You could be a professor, you can contest for councillor. Let me rest my case. Let me submit here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Brian, as a young person, who is holding office, as a young person in politics, I'd love to direct this question to you. It says, running for office is an expensive venture. How can new entrants into politics overcome the economic barriers to participation? And how can we ensure a level playing ground?
Well, it's a very, 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 very funny question. Because the Nigerian politics is designed in a way to ensure that there's no level playing ground. And for young people that want to go into that, you will, it's an economic and adventure that will either make you or break you. Because like my brother was saying that, Femi was saying that political parties and all of that, they charge very, very exorbitant fees for forms and all of that. And people spend hundreds of millions of naira in campaigns. So the minute they go back into office, most of them first thing they try to do is to recover all they have spent before any other thing, before thinking of even looking at what they have to do as people in office. So it's because politics in Nigeria is very expensive. It's very, very, very expensive. What people spend to be president in Nigeria, I don't think people spend that much for political campaigns in anywhere in the world. People spend so much. Well, the only way we can level the playing field, which I seriously doubt it can be done, but the little way we can level it is the political parties should create avenues to support young people. In the PDP in the last election, women were exempted from paying for forms for, I think, State House of Assembly and House of Reps. Like, forms were free for them, and that's one way. That was a very good. That's one way, and it opened a whole lot of opportunities. So that 10 million, 20 million that you'll be asked to use to buy form, you can now use it to maybe do one or two political campaigns, because campaigns are expensive. It's not that your logistics involved. You have to move from place to place. You have to, reception has to be provided for people. Like, there have to be some podium where you stand and address, sound, all of that. Logistics alone make political campaigns expensive. The way what political parties can do is to encourage young people by removing costs for, at least for nomination forms first. Removing costs for nomination forms first. Down to the primaries, it's a free for all, really. Down to primaries, it's a free for all. And political parties, once they like to abstain to play, they are the umpires when it's going down to the primary. So if just because somebody is young doesn't mean that they should favor him over someone that is older. They have to keep the level play, the field level. It's a democracy. But beyond that, if a young person has clinched the ticket, I think political parties receive a lot of funding from. Then they can now put resources together and support their candidates, and that's what most of them have been doing anyway. But to level the playing field, I'm not an idealist. I cannot categorically tell you that if you do this, it will be level. People will always seek for ways to outdo their opponents. That's why vote buying was introduced into the Nigerian electoral system, because people want to just outdo. It's okay. They left one time. Elections were mad with violence. Some people they don't care about carrying guns anymore or snatching ballot boxes. No, they just open their financial war chest. Anybody that comes, if you vote for our party, 500 naira, 1,000 naira, such little this thing, and the person feels that even when this guy becomes a rep member or a senator or a governor, he doesn't care about me in my village. this is the one I can collect. So let me collect it. So the level playing field, I think it is a I don't know how. I cannot recommend if there's a way, because we do not even have a cap on political spending in Nigeria. And even if we do, people always find a way to beat the system. Most political transactions are done with cash anyway. So how do you regulate that you cannot spend more than 2 billion in an election? How do you regulate? If you say, oh yes, okay, if you say keep your books open, a lot of politicians in Nigeria deal with cash. So how do you know if they have not spent more? So I don't know how. I cannot categorize this is how we can level the playing field. It's the political parties that can now say, okay, I think when Dixon was governor, Seraki Dixon was governor of Bayelsa State, for the local government elections, he ensured that he made it that all the vice chairmen across all the nomination forms were given to women. Okay, and that's how you say no. This thing has been reserved for women, and that's how a lot of women became vice chairman of their local governments. So once parties have these adoptions that okay, this is how we are leaving these particular offices or these particular roles for people below this age or people above this, people around this age, and if it's something that is adopted, and the party say okay, this is our constitution, people that are running for House of Assembly in our party should not be more than 30 years. If the party adopts that as a part of the constitution, then we know that that the people below 30 are dealing with themselves. So it's a free for all. Okay, it's a free for all. That's the only way we can level it, by having parties to restrict, because INEC doesn't have a limit, an age limit for offices. As long as there's a limit, you cannot be younger than. But there's no limit where you can be old. If you had that age limit, a lot of people will be retired from politics immediately. So, but there's an age you cannot contest because you're not old enough. But there's no one that you can say, oh, you're too old for this. Nope. So it is parties now that have this mandate to put this age range. Okay, from 25 to 30, House of Assembly, APC, PDP. If they both agree, that's good luck. We know that young people are competing with young people. Then from 28 to 35, House of Rep, okay, or 40. From 30 to 45, governor. If we have these resolutions in the parties, that's where you can relax it. We both know that if you say House of Assembly, she's from 25 to 30, we know that the 30-year-old that is running against the 28-year-old, no matter how much the 30-year-old has, the 20-year-old will try to meet up. All of them will go and meet their political. There's political godfatherism everywhere in the world. They'll go and get funding and all of that and compete among themselves. But once that young man that is just trying to find his feet in politics, that has maybe a 20 million naira ready for elections and is going to compete against someone that is 42, that has a financial watches of 200 million naira, there is no chance. There is no chance. And it's just a reality that we have to tell ourselves. Our politics has been taken over by money. So the only way we can level it is to reduce the age. And so let be young people competing against themselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brian, for that. So we have, while it is related to what we have been discussing, it's a bit of a deviation from all we've been talking about. From what I understand, you're a federal board member with the Nigerian Export Processing Zones Authority. With the disruptions caused by the COVID-19 and all that we have been going through as a nation, can you share with us how your organization engages public office holders and regulatory bodies to ensure ease of doing business and mitigate political interference in economic issues? Sorry, we can't hear you. You're on mute again.
Thank you. You see, many people, they don't understand the concept of free trade zone. And let me quickly say this. Nigeria Export Processing Zone Authority is an agency of the federal government that involves in the running as a regulator of the free trade zone. And we have different free trade zones. We have private free trade zone, which belongs to an individual, state governments, and there is one that is owned by the federal government, like the one we have in Calabar, and another one in Kano. Now, straight to your question, that as agency of the federal government, all of us, we know what happened during this COVID-19 and how we have fared. So far, so good. And when you look at the government of the day about the issue of the policy of ease of doing business, we as a board, because this question will have been supposed to be handled by a management staff of the agency, but as a board member who is part of the federal board that coordinates and that supervise the activities of the management of the agency, let me just say this, that even before the COVID-19 and during the COVID-19, one, we discovered that as an investor, because the place we call free trade zone, that is where we call what we call custom territory, because this is a place that has some prerequisite before you can get the license and before you can operate as a free trade zone. So it is a custom territory, because whatever you are producing there, I need to quickly say this so that we can have the clear perspective and the understanding of what is free trade zone. Now, in free trade zone, like I said, there is a custom territory. If you are an investor, maybe you are coming outside the country or you are within the country, you enjoy some incentives. You not pay tax, but there are some conditions that are attached to it. For instance, you want to produce, say, you want to produce soap. Some of the material that you want to use to produce the soap, it must be locally sourced. There's a percentage which must be locally sourced, some of the material, before you can enjoy the tax holiday. Now, going forward to your question, we discovered that some of these products, by the time you process them, because don't forget, we say it's a zone that is involved in processing. No, by the time you process this material, you are not allowed to sell it in Nigeria, because it is assumed that it's another
Hi, sorry, I can't hear you. Not sure if that's just my network acting up, but I can't hear you anymore.
to airports, to the ports, or wherever the destination before you ship it out or before it is cargoed outside the country. Now, because there are some procedure, there are some manifests that you need to fill. So this has been the cog in the process, in the procedure of smooth transportation of these products. So because of the policy of the federal government is of doing business, so the management of NEBSA, with the support of the board and the custom and the growth of the understanding within us, so that we not discourage the investors. So they have designed a mechanism which makes it easier, instead of all this rep tapism or the administrative bottleneck of maybe taking time, taking days before you can do that. So we have been able to address that, especially during the COVID, because an investors who knows quite well that if all these documents are not processed on time, he will not be able to ship his product out of the country. And many investors will be discouraged. And another thing is that there is an understanding with Federal Inland Revenue, because before the Federal Inland Revenue, there's a misconception. They believe that the enterprises, the companies within the zone or the investors, they have to pay tax. They don't know that they have tax holiday. So they have developed a platform whereby they fill it and they were able to know that they are exempted because they have tax holiday. And so many other things that time may not allow me to say, but like I said, this issue of the tax holiday, it has been resolved with all the investors, and there is ease of doing business, especially during the COVID. And another thing is that NEBZA, Nigeria Export Processing Zone Authority, because we believe that investors, when they are coming, there is some standing rules, some policy, which even some of our board meetings, we have been able to review it, and we came up with some policies that if you are an investor and you are coming to invest in free trade zone, you cannot just enjoy the tax holiday. There must be incentive, and part of there must be benefit to the citizens. And part of the benefit is that their capacity will be enhanced. Because if you are coming, maybe you need 10 staff. You cannot just say, okay, you are bringing 10 expatriates who are engineers, who are technocrats, who are maybe civil engineers, maybe they are chemical engineers, petroleum engineers. You have to source some engineers, some professionals locally, and there is a transfer of manpower through this process. And through that, we have been able to even transfer the power to people within our local community here without having to travel maybe to Denmark, having to travel to the United States of America, having to travel to different countries of the world before you have done that. So this is from manager perspective. This is what we have been doing for ease of business and many other things that time will not allow me to say. But as a regulatory agency, we have been up and doing to ensure that we attract investors. And another thing that we quickly say, like Vice President Osibajo said it, talking about ease of doing business. The procedure for getting the license to be able to be, because it's only Mr. President that could declare a free trade zone that has the power to give the license. But as an agency of the federal government, we recommend through the Ministry of Trade and Investment to Mr. President for the approval in order to open space for a free trade zone. So because of the ease of doing business, instead for you to have all this hard copy, filling this form, doing this, doing that, when you Google when you go to the website of NEBZA, you see the amount you can pay, and you can pay it online in dollars. And when you pay it, you can apply to get the certificates to be licensed as a free trade zone operator. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. So to both of you, I have this question. It has been, an exciting time. I've learned a lot. I'm sure every other participant has, a similar story. I have a great question to both of you. Brian, I'd have you go first. With everything that has happened, all the conversations that we've had, I think it's very obvious that young people feel like they're not a core part of the decision-making process, right? And I'd love to know what your advice is to young people who aspire to hold public offices today, in the future, and in 2023.
Simple. Just get involved with the process. Get involved. Politics is local. We have to start from the grassroots. Get involved. It's not. I think my brother was talking about social media. It's not social media. Social media is where we go to amplify voices and share opinions. Yes, and push policies. Yes, and discuss all of that. Politics is local. Politics is local. We have to get involved from the grassroots, from our primary constituencies. That's where the politics is. Politics is how do you fix that small drainage that is making that when it rains, it fills up and messes up the neighborhood in your community. That's politics, not what we'll talk on social media. That's not politics. Politics is how you fix that drainage in your street. That's politics. How you relate to the problems of the people around you. That's politics. And then, yes, as it goes higher, your constituency becomes higher. Yes, House of Assembly member, a councillor's constituency is bigger than the House of Assembly, is smaller than the House of Assembly member. Yeah. So because yes, you're now representing more people. When you become a rep member, you present more people. When you become a senator, you present more people than when you present a rep member. When you're a rep member, then you become a governor. You're representing an entire state. So you have to start from small and participate. And this participation is not just, hey, be involved in the process. I always tell people, register in a political party, whether it's APC or PDP or anyone, just register, be involved. You don't wake up one morning and see, and I always find it funny when people just wake up one day and go and form political parties. For me, it's very, forming a political, the logistics alone in forming a political party, it's crazy. But yes, if you form a political party, what is your agenda? Are you running for, are you running for House of Assembly or Councillor? If you're doing those two, yes, I can support the fact that you're forming a political party. But don't just wake up one day because you have 100,000 followers on Twitter. You say you want to run for governor or House of Reps. That's insane. And you can form a new political party. I think that's just a wasted effort. You have to start from the grassroots. Start from people join political people get lucky, and then yes, because of maybe people sponsor them or depends on the political side. But it doesn't work all the time. You have to join an existing political party that has a structure. Right now, if I see anybody saying that, hey, they want to run for president and the party is not PDP or APC, I just laugh at the person, because only APC and PDP have representatives. They have, in all the polling units in Nigeria, at least, they have representatives, they have polling unit agents in all the polling units in Nigeria, and I'm trying to remember how many of them they have representatives, they have party chairman in the 774 local government areas in Nigeria. That's 774 people that are under a political party. Then they have in their states, they have in their local government, they have in their wards and in their councils. Look at this is what we are saying. So start from, join a political party. If you join now and participate, maybe by 2027 you can start pulling your weight to run for office. Some people just want to just join and then start reaping. I can assure you that the current House of Rep member in my constituency, there are about 7 people that have been lined up waiting to replace him. And me now, I will just wake up one morning and say, no, I want to go and replace him. That's a fool's errand. It's not going to work. These people have been serving the party loyally for years. And I just get up and say, I want to go and replace him. Then if it doesn't work for me, maybe I don't get the party, I'll go and form another party and say, no, that's not how it works. Politics is local. I cannot be in Abuja and say I want to collect the votes of someone that spends more time in his primary constituency than me. So that's what people should do. People should understand that politics is beyond social media. Social media, we amplify voices, yes. We champion causes, yes. We discuss politics, and yeah, we shape the world, yes, true. But the real politicking happens offline. That's where it happens. So young people, if they want some entry, join a political party. Anyone will do, especially the big two, APC and PDP. Well, yes, in the Southeast now, APGA is also is a strong point. Yes, anyone, but join, participate, and understand how the system works. So you'll be more informed in your political decision. When you see things happen, you know that, okay, yes, this is happening because of this is happening because of this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Yes, Femi, please feel free to go ahead. It's the same
Oh,
question for you both.
okay, the same question I need to address. Well, let me thank the Global Shapers community once again for this opportunity. And let me be factual, because sometimes we need to speak truth to ourselves. And this is the generation of Sorosoke. My brother, Mr. Dennis Brown, he has said it. You see, the fact is that for the youths, the road will be rough. Let's be honest with ourselves. And there will be crooked parts that need to be straightened. The valley need to be filled. And I said it and I will continue to quote, power is not served a la carte. The ideology, the mentality of sense of entitlement, we must de-emphasize it in our senses if we need to get to somewhere. He said it, and I want to align with what he said. Youth must be we must be informed in real-time politics, practical politics. It's not about social activism. When you look at Obama, for instance, I'm saying this about the issue of getting a mentor. One, you need to get involved. Getting involved in practical politics is not enough. You need a mentor. Identify a critical stakeholder in your community, an active political player. Identify a mentor that you can work with, that you can serve with. I've been involved from politics from grassroots. I've been the secretary of the youth in my ward. I've been PA to the chairman of the local government. This thing is not, like I said, power is not served a la carte. You can't just get it when you just sit down in your room. Some of these people, when they need to write, maybe they want to write a speech, they want to draft something, I get involved, and they see that you are intelligent. There are so many godfathers outside there who are scouting, who are looking, who are hunting for God's son, responsible God's son, that they can adopt. So there's a need, one, to get involved, to be active in politics. Number two, get a mentor. And not only getting a mentor, because look at the issue of Obama and Joe Biden. When Joe Biden was contesting the last election, look at the way Obama was campaigning for him aggressively. So when you have a mentor, over the year, you will have built trust with that mentor. Everything is not about money. In year 2019, I contested the election. I got the ticket, but eventually my name was removed. So another thing I want to say is that youths, we have figure, we have energy, we have strength, and we must be bold enough to come out and contest. In 2023, I'm still contesting, because I believe that if you think that somebody will come and give power to you, nobody will give you power. You have to do what? You have to demand for it. So lastly, let me say this. Like I said before, the road will be rough. There will be challenges ahead. But the fact is that for those people who are determined, for the people who are courageous, for the people who see far beyond, because somebody said, he said, I think Michael Faraday, he said, if I have seen farther than the other people, it's because I'm standing on the shoulder of the giants. There's a need for you to stand on the shoulder of the mentors. I'm not talking about the wicked godfathers. Brian has said it. There is no way you will de-emphasize the issue of the money outrightly in politics. You need the money. When I paid for the expression of interest, I paid 1.2 million in the last election in 2019. Apart from the other money I have to spend, running to millions of naira. So if you are standing on this, so if we have seen farther than others, if you have an advantage over the others, I say you are standing on the shoulder of the giant, and the way you can do that is not an overnight, like he said. Somebody who is in the House of Reps now, my brother Brian cannot say he wants to contest and just dislodge him. You have to carefully plan for that. You have to make sure that what you are doing In order for you to take over, it's not what you do just overnight. You see issue of the crowdfunding, which I will have advocate for, but because our democracy has not evolved to that point, and who will even do that for you if you want the issue of the crowdfunding in this climate? It will not work here. What you need is to build trust in the people, build trust in the stakeholder, build trust in the political class, and gradually, we can attain it. So I want to encourage the youth that we need to be actively involved. We need to get mentor, and we need to de-radicalize or to change the ideology of the issue of affirmation that they will give us our percentage. Nobody will just give you your percentage. You have to claim your political space. Thank you once again for the opportunity to have me here today.
Thank you so much, Brian and Femi. This has been awesome. I, in particular, have appreciated like your frankness. Both of you have, hit the nail on the head. You've referred to things just as they are. Thank you so much. Now we'll be drawing a curtain on this event. I'm sure every participant has had a great time. Quickly, I'd love Andrew to, give us a couple of words, just appreciating everyone for joining today.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, so that was a very educative and informative session. Like it showed us that politics, we want to make change. We don't just have to dream about it. We don't just have to talk about it. We have to take action, because action speaks louder than words. And like Mr. Femi has said, power is not served a la carte. If you keep waiting and waiting for someone to recognize you because of your youth, or because of the followers you have, you never get power, you never make change. So, like the both panelists have said, the first step to making change is connecting with your constituents, with the stakeholders, identifying them, and connecting them and partnering with them for change. No man can go forward, as an island. You should always collaborate. You should see the realities on ground instead of just wishing to leverage on the realities. So thank you very much for this, for your contributions. Thank you for making our time. That it was a very, very fruitful conversation. We've learned a lot of things, the need for reforms, the need for like seeing the roles of political parties, like we can't wait for INEC, we cannot wait for the government. The political parties have a role. Like Brian Dennis said about the PDP's policy of ensuring women don't have to pay for their nomination forms. If we could replicate that along parties and ensure that in that way youths who do not have the political powers of their elders, can have a way to have an inroad into politics, and can be mentored, by the people that have been there, the giants, if they have shoulders of giants to stand upon, they can go forward. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. It was a very great, it was a very informative session. And this session is a part of multiple sessions going on across the world. And I just shared a link to a survey, the Davos Lab survey. So in case you would like to have feedback on this topic, on the future of politics, you could just click on the link in the chat box and give your feedback. Like let your voice be heard. I'm sure with everything that has been shared today, we have a lot to contribute, a lot to share. So you could do that through the Davos Lab survey, and we'll keep all participants involved, informed on the next steps and on the progress and on the final report when it's done. So thank you so much for making our time, and thank you for selflessly giving out all the tips and ways forward for the future of politics. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you too.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Thank you so much, Femi, and thank you so much, Brian. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and staying on till now, and do have a pleasant evening.